could close more than 10 rift zones. 7 to 8 would be sufficient. Just the money saved alone would be approximately $2.8 to $3.2 billion. How exactly did Korea cultivate such a monster-like guy? This was someone more desirable to keep close than dozens of S-rank heroes. Could money keep him by their side? Then how much money should they give him? President Daniel Lopez began, desperately calculating in his mind. Each time a rift zone was closed, the agreed compensation would immediately be deposited. So when the fourth rift zone was closed, Doo-jun learned from Young In-ju that President Daniel Lopez had organized a team called the Special Task Force. Rather than competition, it's more like being reluctant to spend money. Apparently, they promised to give them $10 million as rift zone closure compensation. Young In-ju said this while observing Doo-jun's expression. Better than doing nothing at all. Yeah, that's right. Mr. Doo-jun thinks so too. Truly a big shot. Doo-jun was sincere, though he roughly guessed President Daniel Lopez's intention in organizing the Special Task Force. That wasn't stabbing him in the back either. He believed the other party had done their best. The money was already sufficient anyway. Honestly, he was wealthy enough that earning more money seemed meaningless because he unhesitatingly closed rift zones rapidly. His desired shopping list was also being filled accordingly. From blue gator hearts to Belacrola silk sacks, two-headed ogre spine bones, lynx eyes, perlo wings, lentil vaca seeds. Before coming to Brazil, he had obtained everything he wanted. Of course, the biggest gain was Acromos's subspace. Having obtained everything he wanted and earned enough money, Doo-jun wanted to return to Korea one day sooner. Korea wasn't safe forever either. Just like Brazil's rift zones suddenly changed, Korea's rift zones could also change at any time. So Doo-jun wanted to build a safe home for Eun-young and Grandma as soon as possible. There were enough magic crystals too. He'd go by land immediately after returning. Doo-jun methodically made his plans. Before that, there was one thing that must be done, something temporarily forgotten due to the dark magic power incident. Something that must be completed before returning to Korea. Doo-jun's expression became cold again, just as President Daniel Lopez wished. The competition between Doo-jun and the Special Task Force was exceptionally fierce. Beep beep beep. BA-028 Rift Zone has been closed. BA-035 Rift Zone has been closed. Beep beep beep. BA-012 Rift Zone has been closed. Beep beep beep. BA-014 Rift Zone has been closed. Doo-jun closed one rift zone. The Special Task Force would soon close another. Conversely, if the Special Task Force closed a rift zone first, Doo-jun would immediately close another. This continued repeatedly. In terms of rift zone closure speed, Doo-jun was indeed faster. The Special Task Force was also active as expected. Despite rift zones being closed at such rapid pace, President Daniel Lopez's expression wasn't bright. Those rift zones that experienced variables due to dark magic power and such were being closed one per day. But conversely, other rift zones were almost all put on hold, so he worried variables might occur there. Every day he was anxious. Half a month passed like this. Beep beep beep. BA-022 Rift Zone has been closed, centered on Santa Ren. All rift zones within a 500-kilometer radius had been closed. Wow! The Rift Monitoring Center staff had their eyes bloodshot red from monitoring rift areas, unable to sleep properly at all. At this moment, they unanimously stood up from their seats, bursting into cheers. Finally, it's over. Center leader Moru's voice was full of joy as he spoke, looking toward President Daniel Lopez. Phew, now we've barely extinguished the urgent crisis. President Daniel Lopez was the same, his body stiff from tension, unconsciously relaxed. No matter what, the mutated rift areas that devoured 5S rank heroes had all disappeared, but as the words literally meant, this was merely extinguishing the urgent crisis. According to the original operational plan, there were still over 40 rift areas that needed closing, but resting for one day should be fine. Team leader Moru seemed not to understand what he said, and asked back, but President Daniel Lopez ignored him, instead saying to his assistant, "Go prepare a banquet to entertain the heroes who worked hard in this closure operation. They've suffered quite a bit these days, and will continue to suffer in the future, so we must arrange the highest level of hospitality." Understood. Hearing his assistant's answer, team leader Moru felt bitter in his mouth. Our team also worked hard together. He wasn't hoping to receive the same treatment as those heroes who risked their lives on the front lines. It's just that for the Rift Monitoring Center staff who hadn't slept well for half a month straight due to work, not even a word of thank you for your hard work made him feel dejected. You can also leave just the minimum personnel, then have a grand dinner party. After President Daniel Lopez finished speaking from his palace-like, stood up from the chair he'd been sitting in for half a month. Thank you. Bang bang, you've worked hard. Until this operation ends, we'll need you to continue working hard. Team leader Moru deeply bowed to President Daniel Lopez, who was walking out of the Rift Monitoring Center. October 7, 2025. Heroes gathered once again in Sao Paulo, Brazil. This was after the official meeting, a general assembly, about a month later. At the meeting, President Daniel Lopez first expressed condolences for the heroes who sacrificed themselves during the mission. At that moment, whether S rank, A rank or B rank, everyone was the same. Before death, President Daniel Lopez and those attending the banquet all felt grief and regret for their fallen companions. This was also the first official announcement regarding President Daniel Lopez's statement about why they sacrificed themselves and why their deaths were only now being officially announced. Some expressed agreement, others raised criticisms, no matter who said what, since the deaths of S-rank heroes had already been communicated with their home countries and families. The official announcement could be completed smoothly, without causing major controversy. Those reporters, who had always read the Hero Association's mood, and only dared spread rumors, would now excitedly write their reports, and when people saw these rumors, whether they believed them or not, people worldwide would know the truth. That would surely cause a huge response. From then on, there would never be an unexhausting day. Even so, President Daniel Lopez still believed this was a burden he must bear, and was already prepared to bear it. It's just that you want to go back. However, Dujun's explosive statement about wanting to return to Korea was something President Daniel Lopez had completely not anticipated, and absolutely couldn't allow to happen. There are still many rift areas left. Even if you're going back, this operation should at least end. President Daniel Lopez stammered. Due to his panic, we decided, from the beginning, to only close rift areas near Santa Ren. So going back now is correct, just from the words alone. This wasn't fallacious, but Dujun, who possessed power, rivaling dozens of S-rank heroes, couldn't just be allowed to go back like this. Could you talk with me alone? President Daniel Lopez's earnest expression seemed to be requesting permission for a private meeting. Dujun answered that it was temporarily possible. The private meeting was brief. President Daniel Lopez stood to the side looking helpless, while Dujun stood straight before him, expressionlessly shaking his head. This scene was simply shocking to reporters. Unable to take photos, they couldn't record this moment with cameras. This was truly an eternal regret. But some reporters still carefully watched the security personnel's expressions and captured that scene with their phone cameras. Ju Yian, doesn't he look like someone who got rejected after confessing? Young Inju tried hard to suppress her laughter, pointing at President Daniel Lopez, who hung his head looking dejected. Though Hyeon Ju Yin also found it funny, Dujun remained completely unmoved by President Daniel Lopez's sweet words. At this moment she felt immensely proud. Hyeon Ju Yin's face suddenly stiffened. Young Inju's amused expression also twisted instantly, because it was Gloria Taylor, that blue slim beauty standing before Dujun. Go quickly. Young Inju pushed Hyeon Ju Yin's shoulder. Go where? You fool. Go personally confirm what they're secretly meeting about. What secret meeting? Meeting in full view of everyone. What kind of secret meeting is that? Anyway, all men are the same, no matter how dull a man is. As long as there's an enviable beauty acting coquettish in front of him, he'll unconsciously puff out his chest, and his heart will be moved. Mr. Dujun is also a man. Do you want to be here, like a fool, and get stolen away? If you don't want that, go quickly and drive that white fox away. Soon Hyeon Ju Yin was pushed, and reluctantly walked toward Dujun and Gloria. Hello. Hyeon Ju Yin greeted Gloria first. Long time no see. Seeing the other party greet with a composed smile, Hyeon Ju Yin unconsciously first glanced at Dujun's expression. Please consider carefully what I said. This is also a very good opportunity for you, Castle. Consider carefully. Opportunity. What did she say? Though Hyeon Ju Yin was curious about what Gloria's words meant, she wasn't shameless enough, nor urgent enough, to squeeze between the two and ask directly, but she was still very concerned. so it was difficult to manage her expression. I'll consider it. I hope you'll consider it favorably. Castle, Gloria smiled gently, staring straight into Dujun's eyes. If it were an ordinary man, just eye contact alone could make their mouths gape open. A beautiful and stimulating sight. But Dujun's expression remained the same. Could he be frigid? What am I thinking? Hyeon Juyin quickly shook her head, dispelling the absurd delusion. Since we met like this, could you do me a favor? If it's Cassell's request, I'll agree to anything. There will be a golden market this time too, right? I'd like to visit and observe. Could you get me an invitation? Golden Market, every December 1st. A private auction held in Las Vegas. This auction, hosted by America's Hero Association, is very famous worldwide. Precious or special items have their prices determined through live auction. Ownership. The reason Dujun was interested in the golden market was an item that had only been sold there once, 2 years ago. Snow rockgrass with 8 leaves. Even in the world of destruction, it was very famous. Snow rockgrass simultaneously contained the breath of fire and the breath of ice, possessing unimaginably rich magic power. For Dujun, this was an indispensable item. Of course, snow rockgrass couldn't possibly appear again in the golden market as an auction item, but besides that, Dujun needed quite a few other things, so he made up his mind. While he had plenty of money on hand, he definitely had to go to the golden market. Though with Chairman Ra Tae Wong's help, he could also obtain a golden market invitation. But since he had formed a connection with America's S-rank hero Gloria, she should be able to easily provide an invitation. So Dujun tried making the request. Golden market invitations. I have as many as you want, but I have one condition. If the condition was absurd, he would unhesitatingly cancel this matter. 1 week before the golden market opens, come to my house for a week. Hyeon Juyin, who had been quietly listening nearby, hearing the word house, her expression twisted. Dujun frowned. At the time frame of 1 week, Gloria looked at their different reactions, meaningfully looking back and forth between Dujun and Hyeon Juyin. Nothing special about it. I just want to introduce some people to Castle. If possible, I'd also like to go hunting together in American Rift Zones. 1 week. Do I need to give an answer now? Hearing Dujun's question, Gloria smiled and shook her head. You can give your answer slowly, but I believe you'll give a positive response. I'll give you the golden market invitation now. After Gloria finished speaking, she extended her hand to Dujun. Give me your phone. Dujun unhesitatingly handed over his phone. Gloria immediately dialed a number and pressed the call button. Gloria's phone immediately vibrated. Gloria returned the phone to Dujun, then fiddled with her own phone. Ding dong, please confirm. This is a Golden Market VIP membership card. Just as Gloria said, a Golden Market VIP membership card had been sent to Dujun's phone compared to a one-time invitation. This is better, right? Thank you. Having received not an ordinary invitation, but a VIP membership card, regardless of its benefits, Dujun was very grateful. Hyeon Juyin knew how valuable a Golden Market VIP membership card was, and just looked at Gloria in amazement. She really wanted to ask Gloria if she could also give her one, but felt that would create a debt of gratitude, so she never spoke up. Can I contact you at this number? At Gloria's question, Dujun nodded without concern. Seeing this scene, Hyeon Juyin felt inexplicably annoyed, but also felt it wasn't her place to interfere, so she turned her head away. Just then, America's and Korea's beautiful ladies have all gathered together. It was Kang Un-sok, though they had met once before the Rift Zone operation. He hadn't specifically come over to chat then, but this time he actively approached. Hero Seo Do Jun is quite capable, able to chat and laugh with these beauties, having such pleasant conversations. Well, you're not only handsome, but recently, you've been incredibly popular online too. Even if you do nothing, people around you won't leave you alone. He smiled as he spoke, but his eyes held no trace of humor. His tone was full of mockery. Dujun silently crossed his arms and looked at him. Kang Un-sok didn't like even this attitude. This arrogant bastard. Let's see how long you can keep smiling. Everywhere it's Seo Dujun, though he was a suddenly appearing S-rank hero, because there was no information about him. He circulated among people as a mysterious figure. During this time, he had a conflict with Takashi in Brazil, and defeated him. He became quite famous not only in Korea but in other countries as well. But now, even President Daniel Lopez was protecting him, since he had ears. He roughly knew the ins and outs, closed rift zones independently. Kang Un-sok absolutely didn't believe it, no matter what people around him said. He himself had also been part of the special forces, and fought monsters strengthened by dark magic power, so he couldn't believe the claim that Dujun independently closed rift zones. There must be something between Korea's Hero Association and Brazil's Hero Association. There must be a deal. As Kang Un-sok, he could only think this way. I don't know what you're hiding, or what deals are happening behind the scenes, but if you lose face today, then public opinion about you will start to reverse. Kang Un-sok looked at Dujun, and quietly glanced at his watch. Just as he was about to say it should appear soon, someone entered the banquet hall. The banquet, because I closed all the mutated rift zones. Mutated, seems you haven't heard. Actually, I see. So that guy Seo Dujun will come to that banquet. Not only Seo Dujun, but heroes who participated in this operation, and even reporters will attend. President Daniel Lopez was already facing public pressure for forcibly closing rift zones, so this time he could take the opportunity to completely turn the situation around. In that case, in my view, there's no more suitable occasion for you to take revenge for the humiliation you suffered. But it's still quite difficult now. That's enough. I'm going to return the humiliation I received from that guy with interest, and make him know what's what. Footsteps, footsteps, footsteps as someone walked into the banquet hall. Everyone's attention focused on them. Has he already recovered? Even for an S rank, can recovery speed be this fast? I heard Brazil's association spared no effort helping him recover. Seems the results were remarkable. This atmosphere is quite unusual. He's walking toward Seo Dujun. This has flavor. The flavor of exclusive news. Revenge, revenge. Brazilian Hero Association personnel. Heroes from various countries, reporters. Even the hotel staff in the banquet hall. Everyone whispered among themselves. Looking at your expression, are you worried some unnecessary commotion might occur? Contrary to his words, Kang Un-sok's face was full of anticipation. Hyeon Ju-yin, just as Kang Un-sok said, was seriously worried something might happen. Gloria also frowned, as the atmosphere became drastically heavy. Long time no see. Ryoma Takashi, standing before Dujun, spoke first. His eyes were chillingly cold. His voice dripped with killing intent. Anyone could see that was naked hostility and murderous intent. Your body's all better, right? Even so, not a trace of emotion could be found on Dujun's face. Ryoma Takashi's expression stiffened at Dujun's expressionless response. Thanks to you, I had a very good experience. Good then. Hearing Dujun's answer, Hyeon Ju-yin bit her lower lip. If something happens here again. Hyeon Ju-yin's gaze naturally turned toward the reporters. The reporters stared at their prey with bright, piercing eyes. Hyeon Ju-yin only hoped no pointless disputes would arise. Fortunately, President Daniel Lopez sensed the atmosphere was off, and quickly walked over. Hero Takashi, I heard your body has recovered considerably, but I was worried you might be pushing yourself, so I didn't invite you to attend this occasion. But seeing you so healthy, I'm relieved. President Daniel Lopez interjected. Kang Un-sok instantly frowned. Where are you trying to cause trouble? Kang Un-sok felt if left alone any longer, President Daniel Lopez would drag Takashi away, so he hurriedly interrupted. Even if his body has recovered, his heart must still be uncomfortable, so I think greetings should end here. It would be better to go back, lest the wounds that finally healed deteriorate again. Kang Un-sok spoke not in Japanese, but in English. Hearing this, Hyeon Ju-yin, President Daniel Lopez and Gloria all scowled, because without deep thought anyone could tell Kang Un-sok was deliberately provoking Takashi. Your pride was hurt, wasn't it? Don't hesitate. Start fighting quickly. Kang Un-sok hoped Takashi would quickly throw a punch at Dujun. He was certain that as long as they ruined the banquet like this, making Dujun and Takashi become headline news for reporters, no matter who won or lost, both would look terrible, right? Uncomfortable. It's simply unbearable. Takashi's expression slowly twisted. Unlike Takashi, who seemed ready to explode at any moment, Dujun remained expressionless. Let me see if that face you're so proud of gets covered in shit, whether you can still stand. Just as Kang Un-sok was trying to provoke Takashi again, Ryoma Takashi, whose territory is Dokdo? Dokdo, why suddenly bring up Dokdo Dujun's sudden question made Kong Un-sok show an absurd expression. What nonsense is this kid spouting now? Talking gibberish in this situation. Is he trying to escape the predicament with a joke? What a complete lunatic. Not only Kong Un-sok, but even Hyeon Ju-yeon, who was nervously standing nearby, President Daniel Lopez and Gloria, were all dumbfounded by Dujun's untimely question. However, what was even more surprising was, it's Korean territory. Takashi answered matter-of-factly, "What's wrong with this kid too? What are these two doing now?" Takashi should have roared, "What nonsense are you spouting?" But he answered so easily. Kong Un-sok completely couldn't understand the current situation. On the other hand, Hyeon Ju-yeon thought, "I've seen this somewhere before. Whose territory is Dokdo? Of course it's Korean territory. What about Tsushima Island? That's also Korea's. Exactly the same as what happened the day Imperial Guild members submitted to Dujun, only the subject had changed." Ryoma Takashi. The problem was this changed subject was an extreme right-wing among extreme right-wing forces. Ryoma Takashi, who hated Korea to his bones. Ryoma Takashi, who would never bow his head, even with a knife at his throat, was actually obeying Dujun's words, making one doubt if this was reality. Don't forget, Takashi nodded at Dujun's words. "Takashi, what the hell are you doing?" Kong Un-sok asked Takashi in a whisper-like voice. Takashi didn't answer, but took out his phone and started doing something. "Takashi, it's me. About that matter I mentioned to you last time. What I mentioned last time, that's what I asked you to do. There's a guy in Brazil who needs to be eliminated. I've been too busy recently. Temporarily forgot what that guy's name was." "How busy do you have to be to forget even a name? Didn't I tell you it was Seo Dujun? Now I remember. That new Korean S-rank hero. Right, that's him." That was a recorded phone conversation file. The conversation content was played through the banquet hall speakers, so everyone could hear it. What conversation content? The expression of the person involved, Kong Un-sok, was simply indescribable. Just seeing Kong Un-sok's expression mixed with panic, surprise, betrayal, and anger, one could tell. The content now being played through the speakers was ironclad fact. Everyone was equally shocked. Heroes from various countries had to doubt their own ears, because of Kong Un-sok's voice, actually commissioning them to kill an S-rank hero from the same country. The reporters were different. This was exclusive news. My God, this was truly a monumental story. The quick-acting reporters recorded the content playing from the speakers. The entire world would be thrown into shock. Takashi had detonated such an astounding revelation. Many people also questioned Takashi's actions, even though this matter would bring enormous problems to his reputation. Though not to the same extent as the Commissioner Kong Un-sok, he still unhesitatingly exposed the truth. The phone conversation was long and very detailed. During this process, Ryoma Takashi's name was also mentioned several times. Takashi and Kong Un-sok discussed him in their conversation, with bone-deep hatred too shameful to speak of. Hearing the conversation content, Ryoma Takashi trembled all over with shame. That Brazilian bastard. As soon as Kong Un-sok's voice ended, the call also terminated. The banquet hall was shrouded in shock. Only silence remained. "This is a lie. This has been fabricated." The only thing Kong Un-sok could do was deny it. Anyone could tell the conversation content wasn't fabricated, but Kong Un-sok still shouted loudly that it was fake. "What nonsense are you spouting?" At some point, Young In-ju stepped forward, speaking these words with a voice full of killing intent. Without anyone noticing, the Violet Guild members had already surrounded Kong Un-sok. "You damn son of a bitch. Do you think everyone here are idiots?" Young In-ju's commission to Dujun, and the fact that he treated Hyeon Ju-yeon even worse than a prostitute, made him display unbearable anger. Even though Kong Un-sok was a hero incomparably stronger than himself, Young In-ju showed no fear, because Seo Dujun was beside him. He could crush someone like Kong Un-sok with just one finger, even if he wasn't there. The other heroes all harbored the same feelings, looking at Kong Un-sok like looking at an insect. "Fabricated? I merely made the truth public. I even have the notarized documents you promised to give me. If I killed Seo Dujun, you would transfer to me the Korean domestic enterprise assets. If you want, I can make those public too." Due to Takashi's statement, no matter what Kong Un-sok said, no one believed his words anymore. "You madman, what can you possibly gain from this?" Kong Un-sok shouting, made everyone think the same thing. Why would Takashi do something so harmful to himself? To seek justice at this point was simply the greatest joke in the world. What can I gain? There is one thing. What is that? The chance to change my hypocritical life. What are you saying? Kang Un-sok blinked his eyes, seemingly not understanding Takashi's words. But this was only temporary. It seems now, after Seo Dujun beat you up, your brain got damaged. Otherwise you couldn't possibly say such bullshit. Change your hypocritical life. When everything you've done becomes public knowledge, do you think you'll still have that chance? Don't make me laugh. You and I are both irredeemable trash. Yes, maybe that's true, but I don't want to live as filthy as you anymore. Looking at Takashi, as if he had let go of everything, Kang Un-sok could do nothing but smile bitterly. The Takashi who just days ago was gritting his teeth saying he would kill Seo Dujun. Was this really him? Everything was a lie. The emptiness slowly transformed into anger. If he could, he really wanted to kill Seo Dujun, who seemed to have stepped back with that attitude. But would killing him benefit himself? It would only let that woman Hong Hee-ju gain all the advantages. That's right, this whole situation started entirely because of Hong Hee-ju. If Hong Hee-ju hadn't commissioned Kong Chul-woo to carry out the portal assassination, everything began there. Thinking of this, anger toward Hong Hee-ju surged in his heart. But before that, there was something more important to resolve. Takashi, kill that bastard. Then get out of here. He's finished. Even if he's an S-rank hero, commissioning the murder of a hero from the same country is absolutely unforgivable behavior. Everything accumulated until now would collapse. Kang Un-sok admitted it, even resolved to start over, beginning with revenge, to live a completely different life. No longer a life cloaked in hypocrisy and lies, but a life living only for his own desires. To do this, the first thing was to leave here. Kang Un-sok made up his mind with an expression, as if everything was left to fate, and nodded. Damn it, fine, you've won. Just when everyone relaxed their guard against Kang Un-sok's words and actions. So what? Do you think I'm standing here to surrender obediently? Go to hell, you bastard. Kang Un-sok suddenly lunged at Takashi, gripping a short blade tightly in his hand, the final ace up his sleeve, a last resort that would never be brought out, unless it was truly a desperate situation. Kang Un-sok's short blade sliced directly across Takashi's throat, but the moment Takashi fell clutching his neck, Kang Un-sok smashed through the window and escaped. Quick, catch him. This happened too fast. There was no way to stop Kang Un-sok. There was one person who perhaps could have stopped him. Why didn't you stop him? Facing Hyeon Ju-yeon's question, Dujun merely showed a meaningful smile. What happened at the banquet instantly spread around the world. Everyone was shocked beyond belief. Among them, the impact on Korea and Japan was beyond imagination. Both countries' hero associations and even governments had to issue official statements, stating they would thoroughly investigate the entire chain of events. Crash, damn it. You idiots. Expensive decorations were smashed to pieces, torn apart. Hong Hee-ju's face flushed red with rage. She destroyed everything her hands could grab, everything her eyes could see. If she didn't do this, she would truly go insane. Only after turning the room into complete chaos did she stop. After barely calming her agitated emotions, Hong Hee-ju called in Mayor Lee, who had been waiting outside. What's the situation with Kang Un-sok? Brazil's Hero Association is pursuing him, but it looks like he won't be easy to catch. That bastard better resist to the death. Hong Hee-ju once again barely suppressed her erupting fury. What about what we left behind? First, we've taken all measures we could on our end. The accounts were set up untraceable from the beginning, just in case. All surveillance records of your meeting locations with Kang Un-sok and the surrounding areas have been completely deleted. But just like Kang Un-sok was betrayed, if we too have been caught with direct evidence by Kang Un-sok. Before Mayor Lee could finish speaking, Hong Hee-ju once again hurled the broken flower pot beside her. Yes, Kang Un-sok probably never expected Takashi to self-destruct either. This was being completely stabbed in the back. The problem is that Kang Un-sok, cornered to desperation, might also do the same thing, because he had received the call. He said if he didn't help him, he would expose the real reason for using Takashi to kill Seo Dujun. People were already full of questions about why Kang Un-sok commissioned Takashi for the assassination. Kang Un-sok is a fugitive. Seo Dujun remains tight-lipped, so suspicions will only grow larger with time. In this situation, what if Kong Un-sok mentions her name? Can't we kill Kong Un-sok? Facing Hong Hee-ju's question, Mayor Lee's silence served as his answer. Think of something, we must think of something no matter what. Even as Hong Hee-ju screamed like a madwoman, Mayor Lee couldn't say a word. You're all incompetent bastards. I don't want to see any of you anymore. Get out immediately. Hong Hee-ju shrieked at the top of her lungs. Mayor Lee judged it best to temporarily avoid the situation, so he grasped the door handle. Click. Before he could even apply force, the door handle turned and the door opened. Chairman. The door opened, and standing before Mayor Lee was the actual power holder of Daehan Group, the giant who shouldered Korea's economic burden, Chairman Seo Jong-chul. The president is getting old now, so I suppose I've arrived. Hearing Chairman Seo Jong-chul's words, Mayor Lee hastily stepped aside, bowing halfway. Yes, I apologize. Chairman Seo Jong-chul walked into the room, surveying the completely wrecked room. Smashed and broken, I see. This is Seo Jong-chul's sudden visit left Hong Hee-ju at a complete loss. Director closed the door. Hearing Chairman Seo Jong-chul's ice-cold words, Mayor Lee quickly and silently closed the door. Chairman Seo Jong-chul walked toward Hong Hee-ju and directly slapped her across the face. Smack. From birth until now, had she ever experienced being slapped by someone? Hong Hee-ju faced this situation she had never experienced in her life. Rather than anger, it was more panic that filled her. But she immediately looked at Chairman Seo Jong-chul with eyes full of resentment. At this moment, Chairman Seo Jong-chul's hand once again viciously slapped Hong Hee-ju across the face. I've been too indulgent with you. How dare you try to destroy Daehan Group, my life's work? What are you talking about? Do you think I don't know? You used Kong Un-sok to kill Doo-jun. That from Chairman Seo Jong-chul's expression, Hong Hee-ju understood that everything was over. This old man would abandon both her and W Group at any time, for the sake of Daehan Group. He even understood the fact that she wanted to bring Doo-jun back into his embrace. On the plane bound for Korea, Doo-jun shook off President Daniel Lopez, who was desperately pleading for him not to leave, clinging to his trouser leg, and boarded the plane to Korea. This was because the remaining rift zones, excluding those corrupted by dark magic power, could be sufficiently closed by the heroes from various countries currently remaining in Brazil. So he made this decision. The blue gator hearts, sufficient for his trip to Brazil, had been completely secured. Besides that, the items on his shopping list had been sufficiently collected, so Doo-jun had no regrets. The greatest gain was indeed the subspace, obtained through unexpected fortune. Acromos's subspace was the biggest harvest of this Brazil trip. Furthermore, the money earned from closing each rift zone was an astronomical figure. Each rift zone closure was contracted to earn $50 million. Among them, Doo-jun independently closed 11 rift zones. The compensation for this alone reached $550 million. Together with the Violet Guild members, he closed 6 rift zones, earning $300 million in compensation. The $300 million was fairly distributed by headcount. Therefore, the money Doo-jun received was $7.3 million. Just through closing rift zones, Doo-jun earned $557.3 million. Converting to Korean won, 653.7 billion won. Because it was all received in cash, through bank accounts, he could basically live a life, no longer troubled by money. In this situation, Doo-jun didn't even need to sell the magic crystals obtained from closing rift zones and monster byproducts to Brazil's Hero Association. Magic crystals have fixed uses. The monster byproducts in my possession can be used when needed. If I were short on money, that would be different. Since there's more money than he could ever spend, he could just keep the magic crystals and monster byproducts stored in subspace. Please contact this person. Hyeon Ju-yeon, sitting beside him, handed Doo-jun a slip of paper. On the paper was written Park Seong-uk's name and phone number. This person used to be a secretary mayor for S Group. He'll be of great help to Mr. Doo-jun. Thank you. After returning to Korea, he planned to build a house first, so he needed someone to help handle various matters. He asked Hyeon Ju-yeon and Young In-ju if they knew anyone capable and reliable. They gave him this answer: such opportunities don't come often. Why don't you stay in Brazil? Hyeon Ju-yeon shook her head. Thanks to Mr. Doo-jun's kindness, I also made quite a bit of money. There's also a lot to consider, so I want to go back and rest. Just as Hyeon Ju-yeon said, not only her, But Young and Ju and the Violet Guild members all made considerable money thanks to Dujun entering the rift zones together. The closure compensation was also substantial, but because Dujun gave up most of the magic crystals and monster byproducts, those sales proceeds also became a considerable source of income. As expected, if Dujun eliminated monsters and then left, the Violet Guild members could do little more than pick up magic crystals and byproducts scattered on the ground. Only Hyeon Juyin assisted in hunting monsters nearby. Therefore, the Violet Guild members felt nothing but guilt toward Dujun, who so readily handed over magic crystals and byproducts. But Dujun also didn't give up things he considered necessary, so he actually didn't feel shortchanged at all. I'm really curious why you let Kong Un-sok escape. That way it's more interesting. Kong Un-sok is quite a dangerous character, though he poses no threat to Dujun. But if S-rank hero Kong Un-sok is determined to cause harm, how many people could stop him? Moreover, Kong Un-sok has already hit rock bottom. No one can predict what he might do. Since Takashi targeted Kong Un-sok, who will Kong Un-sok target next? Isn't that interesting? You did this just for that, to make Kong Un-sok act personally. Hyeon Ju-yin looked at Dujun in surprise. This was truly an unexpected thought. Hyeon Ju-yin considered herself quite knowledgeable about Dujun, so she could completely guess who Kong Un-sok would target. It's Hong Hee-ju, isn't it? Someone who wholeheartedly wanted to destroy Dujun's life, making Kong Chul-woo act. Hong Hee-ju, who joined forces with Kong Un-sok, would she be Dujun's ultimate target? Could it be? Hyeon Ju-yin's pupils trembled violently from the sudden thought that emerged. Seeing her reaction, Dujun showed the same meaningful smile as when Kong Un-sok escaped. If I'm not mistaken, he's playing a grand game of chess. Hyeon Ju-yin felt that Dujun was not only physically powerful, but also terrifyingly intelligent. What was the first thing Dujun did after returning to Korea? Is it delicious? Yeah, it's so delicious. Watching Eun-young, with her mouth full of hamburger, eating with such relish, Dujun showed the purest smile in the world. Dujun refused Deputy Minister Min Hong-gi's offer to prepare a grand welcome ceremony, saying not to make such unnecessary gestures. The first thing he did was a hamburger date with Eun-young. Brother, aren't you eating? Just watching Eun-young eat makes me full, so eat more. When Dujun was with Eun-young, he would let down all his guard. This was a comfort he had never felt. Even in the world of destruction, it was his only sanctuary and place of rest. Suddenly Eun-young put down the hamburger in her hand. It would be nice if Grandma could come too. The moment Eun-young thought of hospitalized Grandma, tears immediately welled up in her eyes. While Dujun was in Brazil, Grandma was hospitalized due to back pain. She had been suffering from back pain for a long time. Her back had become curved because of it. In fact, according to modern medicine, she was already incurable. Every time Dujun saw Grandma's severely curved back, his heart ached. If her physical condition were good, if he used magic power, he could not only cure Grandma's curved back, but also heal the pain. But the prerequisite was, the body must maintain sufficient stamina and energy to accept magic power. For someone like Grandma, whose stamina and energy were depleted, rashly treating with magic power could actually become poison. So, he had never dared to easily treat Grandma's back. Therefore Dujun had specially prepared medicine beneficial for stamina and energy. But could eating medicine a few times cure it? Ultimately, it was still a race against time. The problem was Grandma didn't have enough time. Watching Eun-young missing Grandma, Dujun thought he'd have to find another way. Though her eyes were moist from missing Grandma, Eun-young showed a happy smile again and continued eating her hamburger. After finishing the hamburger, Dujun and Eun-young went shopping at the department store together, then returned home carrying armfuls of clothes and dolls that Eun-young would like. That night, Dujun made a phone call. Hello. A voice neither too low nor too high came from the other end. Is this Mr. Park Seong-uk's phone? Yes, I'm Park Seong-uk. Who is this? I'm Seo Dujun. Ms. Hyeon Ju-yin introduced me. Seo Dujun. Are you the hero who just returned from Brazil? Yes, Mr. Park Seong-uk said you could help me, so I contacted you. Can we meet tomorrow? I have an appointment in the morning, so that won't work. Around 3 p.m. would be fine. Then let's meet at a place convenient for Mr. Park Seong-uk. The morning appointment location was in Yongdeungpo. Could you come over? I'll come there. Then let's meet at 3 p.m. at the coffee shop in front of exit 6 of Yongdeungpo station. A blue gator heart in such pristine condition. This is my first time seeing one. Choi Chul-guan looked in amazement at the blue gator heart Do-jun handed him. Since the condition is good, the effect should be excellent too. Of course, as long as nothing goes wrong, I can complete a work more perfect than I imagined. Starting production now. It can be finished in 3 weeks. Choi Chul-guan displayed enthusiasm to begin crafting immediately. Though Choi Chul-guan was already over 60, he remained passionate about blacksmithing work. Do-jun felt he had truly met the right person this time. Besides the sword, I have other things I'd like you to make. Is that possible? Of course, I must accept an S-rank hero's request. Choi Chul-guan asked what he wanted. Do-jun began taking some items out of the backpack containing the blue gator hearts. The first thing he took out was Belacrylla's silk sac and salivary glands. Do you want to make armor? Speaking of which, if using Belacrylla's silk, not to mention the defensive power, the wearing comfort is also the very best. So there's no better material than this. Armor made from Belacrylla's silk cannot be pierced by ordinary swords and spears, and can greatly reduce external impact, possessing excellent defensive capabilities. Additionally, it can always maintain constant body temperature, and is not easily contaminated. Of course, it's not without drawbacks. The expensive price and difficulty in processing. The last point is that once damaged it cannot be repaired. So most heroes wear armor made from Belacrylla's silk under their combat suits to ensure it won't be easily damaged in any situation. This isn't for me to use. It's for my sister to wear. Sister, is your sister also a hero? Do-jun knew seeing was believing, so he immediately took out his phone to show photos. She's not a hero then. Then it needs to be made into regular clothing. Wealthy classes have also had clothes made from Belacrylla's silk to wear, so this isn't particularly surprising. It's just that, due to Belacrylla silk's special properties, there are limitations in design. At most it would be sportswear. The very high-end sportswear worn by a certain TV drama protagonist in the past, meticulously crafted stitch by Italian artisans, is the most common design that Belacrylla silk can produce. But using Belacrylla silk to make this, wouldn't that be too wasteful? After all, children's growth rate isn't as predictable as adults calculate. Simply put, sportswear made from Belacrylla silk can only be worn for 1 season, even if made slightly larger. At most it could be worn for 2 years, so Choi Chul-guan felt it was too much of a waste. Precisely because of this, only those who consider money no object would make sportswear from Belacrylla silk, and the clothes they sell secondhand pass through many hands before showing wear. Facing Choi Chul-guan's concern, Do-jun immediately took something else from his backpack, a water bottle containing blue liquid. Have you heard of Tarop essence? Tarop. Choi Chul-guan had never heard this name, but his face was already full of anticipation. That's Cyclops blood. Extracting the blood cells from the blood separately, then applying it to giant black eagle fangs, can perfectly combine the two together. Just like the day Do-jun brought Cyclops blood, Choi Chul-guan was certain, thanks to the blue liquid in Do-jun's hands, his weapon-making knowledge would reach new heights. Tarop essence isn't some rare material. It's just that no one knows about it. Actually, Tarop isn't a monster, but an ordinary plant. Tarop, this seemingly ordinary cactus, grows at most only about 1 meter tall, poses no harm to humans or monsters. Therefore, people just treat Tarop as a type of cactus, and don't pay it much attention. But Tarop essence isn't completely useless, to the point that no one cares about it, because when combined with textile materials, elasticity can increase at least 2-fold. At most it can increase nearly 10-fold. In the world of destruction, Tarop was most commonly used as a textile material additive. After hearing Do-jun's explanation, Choi Chul-guan was even more shocked than the day he received Cyclops blood. If that's true, this would be a remarkable discovery. The clothing industry would undergo earth-shaking changes. Hero armor production would also be very different. How exactly do you know these things? Consider me living a second life. Second life. Choi Chul-guan seemed not to understand what he said, and tilted his head. However, in Do-jun's view, he had already shown as much respect to Choi Chul-guan as possible, so he gave an answer within his capabilities. This is truly puzzling. Choi Chul-guan clicked his tongue, because Do-jun's expression didn't seem like he was joking. He only believed If Do-jun really wanted to tell him the truth, he would tell him someday, "I'm Park Seong-uk, 170 centimeters tall, with a seemingly thin but not weak build, hair slicked back meticulously, wearing a pristine black suit, without a single wrinkle to be found. What an impeccable style." Though he said he was 57 years old, in reality, his appearance looked like early 50s. If one were more generous, one could even believe he was only in his 40s. This also proved his outstanding self-management abilities. "I want to know the reason you contacted me." He also didn't like wasting time. Do-jun also preferred simple, direct conversation. Even appearing businesslike was better than beating around the bush. "I want to build a house. I need someone who can handle this matter properly." Park Seong-uk was the chief secretary, mayor of S Group, one of Korea's major conglomerates. For someone with such outstanding capabilities, simply wanting to build a house might sound like an insult. But Park Seong-uk didn't even blink, and asked in a voice devoid of emotion, "What kind of house do you plan to build?" "The safest and most secure house in the world." Do-jun's answer might make anyone scoff, but this time Park Seong-uk's expression didn't change in the slightest. Instead, he asked with an even more serious expression, "What location and budget are you considering?" "Location preferably in Seoul. Budget approximately 500 billion won." Hearing the figure of 500 billion, Park Seong-uk's expression wavered for the first time. "With that kind of budget, what you want to build isn't a house but a castle." He had originally been joking. A castle. That would probably require an even larger budget. Do-jun seriously accepted this. Park Seong-uk's expression broke again. "I apologize. It hasn't reached the point of needing an apology. Haha, first of all, Korea's safest residential area, you should know, is Gangnam, and the safest residence also exists in Gangnam. Chairman Oh Young-jun's house." That's right, S Group Chairman Oh Young-jun's mansion is currently rated as Korea's safest residence. That's a house built after the Rift incident, excluding all miscellaneous costs. Pure land and construction costs alone exceeded 80 billion won. Just from market value perspective, it's estimated at 110 billion won. But in reality, could you really buy Chairman Oh Young-jun's house with 110 billion won? Absolutely impossible. Even bringing at least triple the market value, or even more money, you still couldn't buy it. If Mr. Seo Do-jun's budget could build a residence more impressive than Chairman Oh Young-jun's home, it's just that whether you can easily buy land in Gangnam is key, because after the Rift situation, Gangnam land prices have continued rising. Even offering high prices makes it hard to buy. Moreover, to build a residence, you need to purchase residential land to the maximum extent. My judgment is that it's not realistically easy. Gangnam, Korea's safest region. In that era, if people had to choose between money and safety, anyone would choose safety. So Gangnam land, unless circumstances permit, no matter how much money you have, buying it is as difficult as plucking stars from the sky. There's no need to buy land that can't be bought. But in Korea, the safest place from rift zones is Gangnam. That's merely the wishful thinking of those who control that land. Do-jun wore a mocking smile. Gangnam's safety is nothing more than a fantasy created by political and business circles for the big shots who protect Gangnam. Of course, up until now, no rift zones have appeared in Gangnam. This has played a certain role, but rift zones are randomly generated, no matter what. What if a rift zone appears in Gangnam tomorrow? Then Gangnam's undefeated myth would be completely destroyed. Purchase land in the Guro district to the maximum extent possible. Guro district is also considered one of the safe residential areas. The reason is very simple. Because it's adjacent to Gasan Hero Complex. In other words, Gasan Hero Complex is the place with the highest hero population flow. So people naturally think, no matter what happens, the area around Gasan Hero Complex is safe, because there are gathered heroes who can respond most quickly. Gangnam is also densely packed with large hero guilds, and this is also guided by political and business friendship. What land area are you looking to purchase? Facing Park Seong-uk's question, Do-jun honestly laid out what he had roughly conceived in his mind, from land to building area, to living arrangements, and so on. This was just Do-jun's personal idea. It needed careful adjustment, but as long as there was enough money, these problems could all be easily solved. What was truly important was residential area safety. Gangnam being the safest, Do-jun just found it laughable. After Doo-jun returned from Brazil, he tried to spend as much time as possible with Eun-young, but he was simply too famous. Too many people wanted to see and find him. He couldn't allocate enough time to Eun-young as he had hoped. Then one day, an absolutely unwelcome guest came to visit Doo-jun. Long time no see. The sudden visitor was actually Seo Doo-jun's biological father, Daehan Electronics president Seo Jung-jung. If this were real, Seo Doo-jun seeing his father would definitely stiffen physically. Though he was his biological father, their father-son relationship was extremely strained, never having felt the slightest warmth. I've been hearing about you frequently lately. I suppose the fact that you're my son will soon become known. When Seo Jung-jung said these words, his face showed no trace of apology or regret. Doo-jun guessed that Seo Jung-jung hadn't personally revealed or leaked this fact. More people were probably curious about Doo-jun's identity, and then investigated further. Somehow they found out. Most importantly, Seo Jung-jung's emotionless expression let him know he equally disliked this situation. So what? Doo-jun's first words made Seo Jung-jung's expression twitch. You've changed a lot. Changed more than you can imagine. Doo-jun's answer made Seo Jung-jung shake his head left and right, as if he hadn't anticipated this reaction at all. Grandfather wants to see you. Have I become useful again? In Seo Doo-jun's memory, Chairman Seo Jong-chul, for him, humans were divided into two types, those useful to Daehan Group and those who weren't. It was precisely because of the outdated notion that women couldn't inherit the conglomerate that Chairman Seo Jong-chul brought Doo-jun, an illegitimate son, into the household. At that time for him, Seo Doo-jun as a person was useful enough, simply for being his bloodline. But after Seo Jung-jung had a son, Seo Doo-jun became completely useless. In Chairman Seo Jong-chul's eyes, just like that, Seo Doo-jun was miserably cast out. Even if he died out there, Chairman Seo Jong-chul wouldn't blink an eye. No, Seo Doo-jun had become Korea's 8th S-rank hero, so he had become useful again in Chairman Seo Jong-chul's eyes. I'll send someone again soon. When that time comes, you'll return home. Don't send anyone if you don't want to be embarrassed. Doo-jun's cold tone made Seo Jung-jung's expression twitch once more. Do you think the world is easy just because you became an S-rank hero? Even becoming an S-rank hero is merely individual strength. Come back according to grandfather's wishes. That way Daehan Group will give you wings. I'll send someone over in 2 or 3 days. Go ahead and send them. Let's see what happens. Looking at Doo-jun, expressionless yet wearing a smile, Seo Jung-jung felt a chill in his heart for the first time. The Seo Doo-jun who used to shrink his shoulders before him was nowhere to be found, though he had repeatedly ignored contact attempts. Doo-jun had completely drawn the line with them, making whatever expectations he might have held completely meaningless. Father was wrong. For that child, only resentment remained toward Daehan Group, because everything was their own doing. So Seo Jung-jung simply wore a bitter expression and turned to leave. 3 weeks passed in the blink of an eye. During this period, Doo-jun encountered several matters. First was Doo-jun's identity becoming public. The grandson of Daehan Group Chairman Seo Jong-chul. Before the rift incident occurred, Daehan Group was called Korea's most premier company. The title of being its grandson shocked people and made people accept Seo Doo-jun as a person. I knew it. See, Daehan Group must have thrown astronomical amounts of money to cultivate him into an S-rank hero. The Middle Eastern hero Cap who became S-rank through money. Mori was now on equal footing with Doo-jun. No one said Doo-jun became S-rank through Daehan Group's money, but everyone speculated as much and quickly regarded it as truth. From the beginning, how could a wet behind-the-ears kid be S-rank? Does that make sense? Damn those born with silver spoons. As long as they awaken as heroes, they can go straight to S-rank. How unfair is this world? How can people live like this? The cheers for Doo-jun gradually turned into extreme jealousy and envy. At this time Doo-jun made his first public statement through the media. Rather than directly accepting reporter interviews, he publicly announced through the Hero Association that he had no relationship with Daehan Group. He didn't even hide the fact that he had been miserably abandoned by Daehan Group in the past. Is what Seo Doo-jun said true? That must be true. Testimonies were everywhere. Classmates who went to school with Seo Doo-jun and people who worked part-time jobs with him all spoke about Seo Doo-jun's situation at the time. Wow. So the illegitimate son really was abandoned by Daehan Group. Daehan Group talks about being some global enterprise. They're actually just bastards. You're only realizing this now. From age 18, Seo Doojun had been caring for his sick grandmother and his 2-year-old half-sister from a different father, living very difficult lives. People around his neighborhood all knew at the time, last time when wanting to know the truth. They even did a special feature on Seo Doojun's past. Right. When new rifts appeared in Mappo at that time, the national troublemaker who entered the rift zone to save his sister was Seo Doojun. Right. That's right. The Hero Association even announced that Seo Doojun awakened in the rift zone at that time and sealed the new rift zone. Wow. Seo Doojun's life really was a complete reversal. Right, this is much better. Rather than becoming S-rank through money, this has more human touch, more fair. After Doojun's statement, public opinion instantly reversed. Those who were jealous of him all became fervent supporters. Moreover, while supporting Doojun, antipathy toward Daehan Group also grew stronger. This was exactly what Doojun had hoped for, because after his identity as Daehan Group's heir was revealed, Daehan Group's value skyrocketed rapidly, even if people were jealous. As Korea's representative S-rank hero, the benefits Daehan Group could gain would inevitably be enormous. Doojun couldn't tolerate this fact, so he exceptionally made his own statement. This amounted to a declaration of intent not to let Daehan Group gain any benefit from him. At the same time, Chairman Seo Jong-chul, ignoring Doojun's warning, sent people. Chairman Seo Jong-chul sent me. Please get in the car, we'll make you comfortable. Doojun opened the rear door of the luxury imported car, expressionlessly, and threw a punch at the respectfully waiting Daehan Group employee. Boom! Doojun's punch smashed the luxury imported car beyond recognition. Doojun's sudden action made the Daehan Group employee's face turn deathly pale, collapsed on the ground. Go tell him this is just the beginning. Leaving these words behind, Doojun turned and walked away, leaving the Daehan Group employee in panic, hurrying back in haste. Whether accepting Doojun's warning or seeking other means, Chairman Seo Jong-chul didn't send anyone else from Daehan Group, nor made any response to Doojun's statement, simply maintaining silence. The relationship between Doojun and Daehan Group, with many people watching how their future relationship would change, temporarily came to a pause. Secondly, the weapon Doojun had been waiting for was finally completed. I can confidently say, this is my finest work. Doojun's sword was forged from 2 massive giant black eagle fangs. Total length, 177 centimeters. Width, 28 centimeters. Weight, 5.2 kilograms. The dark blue blade was engraved with the character Choi, appearing exceptionally elegant. I also tried engraving it. If you don't like it, I'll erase it. Choi Chulgwon said he'd erase it, while observing Doojun's expression. It's very fitting. Doojun felt no need to hurt the blacksmith's pride in displaying his work, so he said it was fine. Good that it's fine. Ha ha ha. Choi Chulgwon laughed exaggeratedly. Doojun also chuckled softly. The magic absorption rate should satisfy you greatly. The blue gator heart you brought was top grade. Plus those additional magic enhancements you gave. The absorption rate is much higher than I imagined, Choi Chulgwon said confidently. We can test it right here and now. Doojun immediately infused magic into the sword. The sword greedily absorbed Doojun's magic like a demon. As the absorbed magic increased, the sword's surface began glowing red, accompanied by slight trembling. The sword began resonating. That was a very pleasant resonance. After the world's destruction, Doojun, for the first time, pleasantly felt the sword merge with himself. Good sword, better than expected. If this is the case, I can barely feel any need for replacement. The suffering in Brazil was worth it. After confirming the smile appearing on Doojun's lips, Choi Chulgwon's face also filled with pride and satisfaction. You've worked hard, haha. Worked hard for what? If you hadn't personally gone to get the materials, I never could have forged this sword. Doojun took out his wallet, then put it back. Usually, the upper limit for weapon crafting fees is 50 million won, so he had only prepared 50 million won, but he changed his mind. He felt that the sword Choi Chulgwon made was worth far more than 50 million won. Tell me the crafting fee. I'll transfer it to you immediately, Doojun said, preparing to transfer money via phone. Forget about the money. Choi Chulgwon flatly refused payment. I've gained too much through you. Though I've lived my whole life around molten iron, I've never felt so inadequate as this time. In other words, through this crafting process, the knowledge I gained was extremely valuable. though I stayed up several nights. Far from being tired, I felt joy and excitement instead. Didn't even feel fatigue. Thanks to you, I gained so much. So don't ruin my mood with money. Unlike Choi Chulgwan's sincere, unrewarded expression, standing nearby, Choi Gangju's face was twisted and distorted, like he'd eaten dirt. Fine. Do-jun immediately put his phone back in his pocket. Really not giving money. Do-jun's immediate agreement made Choi Gangju speak with an absurd expression. You shut your mouth. Choi Chulgwan glared fiercely at Choi Gangju. My dad is really something. That kid too. Do both of them have mental problems? Damn it, let's talk. Some common sense, okay? To make that thing. How many jobs did my dad refuse before? No, even if he refused those jobs, the advance orders were ruined one by one. How much money was lost? And you damn, when I say no money needed, you immediately say, okay. Are you even human? At least show some sincerity. Once Choi Gangju started speaking, he cursed without restraint, whether toward his father or the customer. Gangju, you little bastard. Choi Chulgwan's face turned red with anger, even raising his hand, but his words weren't wrong. So what then? Choi Gangju dodged his father's hand and stepped back, while looking at Do-jun, including the lost amounts, and the amount I should be paid. How much money would satisfy you? Do-jun asked questioningly. Choi Gangju immediately shouted 100 million. No, 200 million, right, 200 million exactly. This kid is still like this. No. I didn't intend to take money, and have no reason to take it, so don't listen to this kid's nonsense. You little bastard, come here right now. Despite Choi Chulgwan's fury, Choi Gangju wouldn't budge at all, directly giving Do-jun his bank account number. Already transferred. Check it. Before Do-jun finished speaking, Choi Gangju's phone received a deposit notification, confirming the deposited amount was more than he'd asked. After expressing surprise, Choi Gangju looked at Do-jun in amazement. Didn't I say no money needed? Why are you doing this too? Looking at Choi Chulgwan's genuinely displeased face, Do-jun answered, there will be many places I'll need your help in the future, and I hope you can prioritize my requests, so please accept this. Choi Gangju's words weren't entirely lies, because from his first visit here, Choi Gangju had said there was a lot of work, not even having time to properly receive customers. If Choi Chulgwan suffered losses because of him, and fell into financial difficulties, Do-jun couldn't just ignore it. Then I'll take 50 million and return the rest to you. Don't do this, it makes me uncomfortable. No, if you return the money, I'll also feel uncomfortable. Then we won't be able to do business anymore. Hearing the phrase about not being able to do business, Choi Chulgwan could no longer be stubborn. Thank you. Perhaps because of his father's deflated attitude, Choi Gangju scratched his cheek, saying, I only asked for 200 million. The 300 million was what you gave, so don't blame me if even that's not enough. Just tell me, I'll give you more. Get lost, get out. Seeing Choi Gangju's flushed face, Do-jun couldn't help but laugh. Later it was heard that Choi Gangju, who asked Do-jun for money, was severely scolded by his father Choi Chulgwan. The third matter was Do-jun's meeting with the president. In an era when heroes were national assets, as the highest-ranking S-rank hero, Do-jun could not be ignored under any circumstances, not even by the president. Not even by the president's grandfather could ignore him. In reality, the business card of S-rank hero possessed such great authority that even those arrogant National Assembly members had to step aside. Therefore, ministers of various government departments, deputy ministers and officials, even National Assembly members from local districts, frequently made contact, hoping to form connections with Do-jun, though meeting with the president wasn't anything particularly remarkable. Having fine dining at the Blue House and meeting privately, for ordinary people, was undoubtedly something to boast about for a lifetime. Besides this, Do-jun had to turn down TV appearance invitations and various advertising endorsements, spending 3 weeks busier and more irritating than ever before. During these 3 weeks, what Do-jun most wanted to do was select a suitable location for building the new house and prepare to formally enter the purchase process. This is indeed the optimal location, but calculating actual land purchase costs based on market prices, the result would significantly exceed the budget. How about considering reducing the purchase area? Do-jun reviewed the materials Park Seong UK had prepared. To purchase an area of 33,058 square meters would require at least 430 billion won. This was a budget estimated at actual transaction prices, But the problem was this 10,000 square meter land had different actual owners. If some of them demanded exorbitant prices, there was no telling how much more money would be needed. I'm quite curious why you need such a large plot of land. Park Seong-uk's question was reasonable. Buying 10,000 square meters of land to build one house. Anyone hearing this would think it was crazy. After rational consideration, Park Seong-uk simply couldn't understand, on that plot, large enough to build a small apartment complex of land, just what kind of magnificent house was to be built. You're not really planning to build a castle, are you? He secretly worried that this joke might become reality. No matter how worried Park Seong-uk was, Do-jun's plan didn't change. I'll find a way to raise the insufficient budget. Let's start with the land that can be purchased. Understood. Park Seong-uk had no choice but to do as the client requested. If the budget was insufficient, additional budget would have to be raised. After Do-jun parted with Park Seong-uk, he immediately called Deputy Minister Min Hong-gi. Hero Seo Do-jun, why are you calling? I want to ask you for a favor. Could you tell me where there are rift zones? I can hunt right now. Rift zones. Why suddenly ask about rift zones? Because I need to earn some money. Are you serious? Deputy Minister Min Hong-gi knew clearly how much money Do-jun had received from Brazil's Hero Association, so his words didn't sound sincere. He thought 500 billion won would be enough. No, if the location was slightly remote, it would be enough. Can't leave, even if I want to. Do-jun clicked his tongue. If it were just him living alone, whether Seoul or provinces, it wouldn't matter. The problem was Eun-young. Next year she would have to start school. From now on, she would meet many people, make friends and enter formal group life. It's not that there are no people in the provinces, but for Eun-young to grow up healthily in a safer area, he had to choose to settle in Seoul. I think 10,000 square meters is too large. If you're just purchasing 10,000 square meters of land simply to build one house, public opinion will also develop in a bad direction. Please reconsider. Despite Park Seong-uk's repeated persuasion, Do-jun didn't change his mind. The land must be that large. Just as Park Seong-uk had joked, he wasn't really planning to build a castle. He really only planned to build one house. It's just that Do-jun had other ideas. That's why he needed such a large 10,000 square meter plot. If he had known his seemingly sufficient money wasn't enough, he would have stayed in Brazil a bit longer. Do-jun had already returned, so he dismissed the foolish thought. Korea also had many rift zones. As long as he kept hunting monsters, he could earn a lot of money. Thus, Do-jun spent 6 days a week hunting in rift zones. Only one day, he spent time with Eun-young and grandmother. Before he knew it, November 15th arrived. Just as Do-jun was about to go hunt in rift zones, he received a call from Rao Tae-wong and went to his office. Do you know what people are saying about you lately? Do-jun seemed to not care at all what others thought of him, just kept drinking coffee steadily. Every time he met Rao Tae-wong, this cup of coffee could satisfy Do-jun completely. They're saying you're a vampire. In the past 2 weeks, you've hunted in 9 different rift zones. The rift zones were quite large in scale, so it took a lot of time. Conversely, if the rift zones were narrow, he would go to more places. This was an inconceivable thing for others, but for Do-jun, it was a matter of complete indifference. So, Rao Tae-wong, who said these words, felt a sense of emptiness. I didn't call you here for anything else, just for this. Rao Tae-wong handed Do-jun a bankbook. This is the payment for the magic crystals and monster byproducts you sent, the Caecilius you commissioned for sale last time, and the Cyclops magic crystals were also sold last week, all deposited together. Do-jun first confirmed the bankbook balance. The amount was just under 80 billion. The Caecilius and Cyclops magic crystals were sold for 16 billion and 19 billion respectively, excluding the 35 billion. In the past 2 weeks, the magic crystals Do-jun obtained in rift zones and monster byproducts price actually approached 45 billion. Earning 45 billion in 2 weeks, even for an S-rank hero, was absolutely not an easy amount. But Do-jun could hunt rift zones faster than dozens of S-rank heroes, even for the same magic crystals. Do-jun enjoyed the privilege of exemption from processing fees and taxes. You're not surprised at all. Seeing Do-jun's still unmoved reaction, after confirming the bankbook balance, Rao Tae-wong clicked his tongue. You should know how much money I made in Brazil. I know. That's why I understand even less. Just understand it as you see it, because I need money. That's the only reason I'm hunting in rift zones. I was just about to ask you, why buy so much land? I want to build a house on that vast land. According to what Ra Tae Wong knew, the scale of land Dujun was purchasing was enough to build a small apartment complex. I'm looking forward to it. Ra Tae Wong knew Dujun wasn't ordinary, so while answering this way, he also felt inexplicable anticipation in his heart, not knowing what kind of remarkable house it would be. This might be an opportunity for me. Ra Tae Wong thought it wasn't for any other reason. Simply living next to Dujun could better establish friendship. And it wasn't just Ra Tae Wong who had this thought. Is Mr. Dujun buying land? Hyeon Ju-yeon nodded, responding to Young In-ju's question. He said he wants to build a house. What about you? What's wrong with me, you fool? Are you going to let this opportunity pass too? What opportunity? What are you going to say now? Hyeon Ju-yeon was already troubled by Gloria's matter. When Young In-ju said such things, she frowned, thinking Young In-ju would bother her with useless matters again. Isn't Mr. Dujun going to build a house? Is there any better opportunity than this? What exactly are you talking about? Oh my, if Mr. Dujun builds a house, would he live there for just a year or two, then move away? I heard it's quite large in scale. Simply put, he's building a house to live in for a lifetime. Then you should also buy land and build a house next to his. Living next door, a woman living next door, and a woman living alone at that. Young In-ju's words seemed to say there was no more tempting temptation than this. After hearing this, Hyeon Ju-yeon felt as if someone had hit her with a club. How hadn't she thought of this? No matter how much Gloria flirted, wouldn't she, living next to Dujun, have more advantage? Living next door, the number of natural encounters would also increase. Situations of eating together using neighbors as an excuse would also happen frequently. If it's a house where a woman lives alone, places where a man's help is needed, could provide various requests, then using this as an excuse to eat together again. In Hyeon Ju-yeon's mind, scenes of getting close to Dujun appeared continuously. Do you understand now? Yeah. Taking this opportunity, we also plan to move near Mr. Dujun's house. Sister is also moving. Why would sister move? Young In-ju looked at the confused expression on Hyeon Ju-yeon's face and chuckled softly. Do you think I would court Mr. Dujun? No, that's not what I meant. Let's say the Brazil incident was a catalyst. Our Violet Guild found a clear direction for survival. Honestly, the guild members also treat Mr. Dujun's words like gospel. Moreover, wherever our guild goes, we have to depend on the strong anyway. If that's the case, better to follow someone like Mr. Dujun. A sports car speeding on the highway. Hyeon Ju-yeon also nodded in understanding. Indeed, he's more capable than any S-rank hero, isn't he? Closing rift zones in Brazil and fairly distributing profits was the same. He might seem stern and unyielding, cold and distant, but actually, he's not harsh to people in his circle. It seems as long as you don't make some major mistake, he won't refuse to let people stay by his side. Are you planning to set up a guild office then? Taking this opportunity, I want to build a mixed-use commercial and residential building. Hyeon Ju-yeon thought. Young In-ju's plan to combine office and living space wasn't bad. However, you need to act quickly. I have a feeling hunting dogs have already caught the scent and are running over. Got it. From that day on, around Dujun's land acquisition area, land transactions also proceeded rapidly, starting with Ra Tae Wong to Hyeon Ju-yeon and Young In-ju's Violet Guild members, plus some heroes who somehow caught wind of this from somewhere, and real estate speculators also joined in. Therefore, Guro District's land prices suddenly skyrocketed. More importantly, real tycoons began concentrating in Guro District. This had far-reaching significance. Dujun was acquiring land. This kid thought of such things so early. Truly like father, like son. Haha. Chairman Seo Jong-chul felt immense satisfaction at how similar he and Dujun were. Purchase as much land as possible near that area. No matter how much one struggles, blood is thicker than water. Blood always recognizes blood. Chairman Seo Jong-chul believed this was an excellent opportunity to restore relations with Dujun. Just like that, Chairman Seo Jong-chul's rumors of purchasing land around Guro District spread throughout the business world. That old fox Seo Jong-chul, that guy with a ghost-like sensitivity to money, is actually buying land. No need to think anymore. We must also immediately purchase as much as possible. Land prices skyrocketed as a result, but Dujun had already acquired 10,000 square meters of land. Even Park Seong-UK, who had doubted whether Dujun would really acquire 10,000 square meters after completing all purchase procedures, couldn't help but be stunned by Dujun's scale. This is everything. Park Seong-UK was puzzled by the house design. Dujun wanted a 150 square meter two-story house. For ordinary citizens, this was a dream house, but for Dujun, who had acquired 10,000 square meters of vast residential land, this house seemed far too modest. If only building a 150 square meter two-story house, why acquire 10,000 square meters of land? Though Park Seong-uk's face was full of confusion, Dujun thought a 150 square meter house was sufficient. What do you plan to do with the remaining space? Are you planning to install sports facilities or build walking paths? Park Seong-UK recalled those major corporation chairmen or successful tycoons who purchased large plots of land to decorate their homes. But the answer Dujun gave was something Park Seong-UK had never imagined. A guardian's nest, building a house. Guardian's nest, house. Park Seong-UK looked at Dujun in confusion. Dujun said he would understand soon, and drew a sketch of another type of building he wanted, like a dome-shaped soccer stadium, though the roof was open, and the scale incomparably reduced. The building Dujun drew, indeed, reminded one of World Cup stadiums, or Rome's famous Colosseum. Simply put, it was a very simple building, with only circular outer walls. Construction should start from here. Just need to build the outer walls properly. Construction will finish quickly. No need for interior construction, so it won't take much time. But how should we apply for the building's purpose? It's neither an ordinary residence, nor a shop or factory. So Park Seong-UK was also troubled about how to obtain permits. I'll solve that. I need to find Ra Tae-wong anyway, to resolve this part of the problem. So Dujun immediately picked up his phone. Why did Hero Co Dujun suddenly come? Facing Deputy Minister Min Hong-gi's question, Ra Tae-wong raised his hand, indicating to give him some time. Tap tap tap, Ra Tae-wong tapped the table with his fingers, his expression more serious than ever. What did he say before leaving? Deputy Minister Min Hong-gi was very curious, but since he could only wait until Ra Tae-wong spoke, he sat quietly. After a long time, Ra Tae-wong finally spoke. Have there been any heroes who tamed monsters so far? You mean taming monsters? Countless attempts have been made, but currently, there are no heroes who have formally tamed monsters. Right, I remember, that's correct. Why suddenly mention taming monsters? Could it be? Deputy Minister Min Hong-gi's eyes widened. You think this is absurd too, right? You mean, Hero Co Dujun can really tame monsters? Yes, so he requested that I help him gain government assistance to allow him to keep monsters on his property. I can't believe it. Even if he's Hero Co Dujun, taming monsters is something. Deputy Minister Min Hong-gi shook his head violently, seemingly unable to believe it at all. Right, it's unbelievable. But do you know what's even more surprising? Just taming monsters is already surprising enough. There's something even more surprising than this. Deputy Minister Min Hong-gi let out a soft breath, touching his chest. He resolved, no matter how absurd the words, he wouldn't be surprised anymore. However, before Ra Tae-wong finished speaking, Deputy Minister Min Hong-gi suddenly stood up, shouting loudly, "No, this is impossible. This is simply nonsense. The monster Dujun wants to tame isn't an orc, nor an ogre. It's actually Caecilius. Not an ordinary monster, but a boss monster from Rift Zones. Caecilius." Dujun actually told Ra Tae-wong he wanted to tame that terrifying creature. How exactly should this be accepted? If ignoring Dujun's words, they worried about damaging relations with him. But if following what Dujun said, gaining government assistance to let him keep Caecilius at home, Ra Tae-wong had no idea how to persuade anyone. Therefore he was deeply worried. Not only Korea's, but the world's safest home. If he could tame Caecilius, at least he could ensure protection from monster threats. Caecilius would defend his territory to the death, so he could be trusted and relied upon. Even if the whole world was tainted by dark magic power, like Brazil's Rift Zones, Caecilius would become equally powerful, sufficient to guard one house. Of course, if like in the world of destruction, monsters that even Caecilius couldn't handle invaded Earth, then safety could no longer be discussed. In the current situation, there was no more trustworthy guardian than Caecilius. Having secured monster safety, the next step is securing the Fisher Zone.